Hello, this is the 2020 edition of the IYF Camp, and I'm Reverend David Kojetre, speaking to you from the campus of Abbey Creation Fashion College in Ghana. As a competency-based fashion institution, we want to let you know that we are privileged to be part of this year's virtual youth camp by IYF. Our school is a competency-based institution, and we are positioned to use the competency-based training to be able to discover the giftings of the young man and young woman, to help them train and equip themselves to be able to deploy their talents and potentials to help build their nations. If you're watching me now and you're a young person and you have found your passion, I want you to know that if you can follow your passion and you'll be disciplined, you work very hard, and then you decide to take advantage of this pandemic that is going on in the world to be able to enroll yourself on an online school that is offering any form of training that will help you to discover your gifts and then develop your gifts so that you can deploy your gifts to be a blessing to the world's economy, you will be laughing at the end of the day. So I want to challenge you. If you have passion for fashion, look for a fashion school like our own, online, enroll, and then discover your talent, train your talent so that you can use it to help build your nation. I want to thank the organizers of IYF Youth Camp, and we say thank you so much for this great work that you are doing for young people. IYF, challenge, change, and cohesion. God bless you.
Good morning, class. My name is Mrs. Abigail Tre from Abbey University College. It's a pleasure for me to teach IYF Youth Camp program. I'm teaching you on freehand cutting. In Abbey Creation College, we teach both freehand and pattern drafting, but I'm taking you through the freehand first, and then after that we go through the pattern drafting. The style I'm coming to teach you is on a phone. Normally when you have a style on the phone, it goes on and off. So for you to be able to concentrate on what you are doing, you do a quickly sketch, like an illustration of the style. This is a round neck flare dress with a band on the waist, puff sleeve, and a band on the sleeve. And then what's the lines you see under the flare skirt is a goddess lace under the flare. So this is a simple illustration that I've done so that I'll be able to know exactly what I'm cutting. We are cutting the flare skirt first. I've already cut one, so I want to show you what a flare skirt is, if in case you don't know the name. This is the flare. So I'll demonstrate it again for you to see how I cut it. If you have a 2 yards fabric to use for a flare skirt, you fold it into two. First and foremost, after folding it into two parts, then you fold it again into 4 parts. The reason is, when you take the measurement, let's say for instance, you take the waist measurement first. So you take it around the person you are sewing for, or around the body. So, for instance, if the waist is 37, as I have on my book here, when you take the full measurement of the waist, you divide it by 4 because you folded the fabric into 4 pieces. Let me explain it well for you to understand it. The body is the full body is 37 inches that you got on your tape. That is the waist measurement. So if you have the 37, you divide it by 4. First and foremost, for you to get the measurement correct, you divide it by 2. It will give you 18 and a half. And then you divide it by 4, which will give you 9 and quarter. The first measurement, the first division that gave us 18 and a half is from the left side of the body to the right side of the body. That is half of the body, or front part of the body. And the back side of the body will give you the same measurement because it's half of the body. But normally when we are cutting, we cut from the middle part of the body. So that is why we divide it by 4. From the navel to the left side of the body is 9 and quarter. From the navel to the right part of the body is also 9 and quarter, which gives you 18 and a half in full. And then if you are measuring the full waist, it will give you 37. So now I'm sure you understand how we got the 9 and quarter. Because it's flare, you don't start cutting from the straight part of the fabric. You start from the pointed edge. That will give you the flowing part of the skirt. We got 9 and quarter. So you measure the 9 and quarter on the fabric. This is 9 and quarter. And then you check the length of the skirt. So if the length of the skirt is, let's say, 11 inches or 12 inches, you measure from the waistline. Now we are having the waistline. You measure from the waistline to the hemline. That is the 12 inches. Then you mark it. You repeat the same measurement on the line, from the beginning of the line to the end of the line, so that you have the round part of the hemline correct. 12 inches. 12. So after measuring the 12 inches, you join the line together so that you'll be able to cut it well. You can either use a tailor's chalk or a pencil to do your drafting. So now we have the flare on the fabric already sketched. So you use the scissors to cut it. But because we use the exact measurement to rule the line, you have to leave a sewing allowance, which is half of an inch. From the line to the upper part of the fabric. You don't go down the skirt. So then you cut on the allowance line that you just left, which is half of an inch. You don't leave more than half of an inch, because if it becomes more than half of an inch, When you sew it in the band, it will look bulky. So you leave exactly half of an inch. And then on the hemline, because it's flare, you leave quarter of an inch. Very small. So this is how I got my flare, the first one I showed you. So now we've gotten the flare for the down part of the dress. We are now coming to cut the upper part of the dress, which is the round neck top and the princess darts on the front part of the dress. Before you cut, you check the right part of the fabric very well, the right side of the fabric very well, so that you will not make a mistake. That is why I was looking at it very well before cutting. And make sure this fabric has a lot of lines in it. So you make sure the lines are on it exactly, so that when you cut it, it will look very straight. The bust, I'm using 42 bust. So it's the same procedure. This is the front. I'm cutting the front part of the dress. You fold the fabric into two again. By folding the fabric into two, you get half part of the body or quarter part of the body. So the bust is 42. You divide it by 2, you get 21. And then you divide it by 2 again, you get 10 and quarter. So we are using 10 and quarter to cut the front. Because it's freehand, for you to be sure that the fabric will reach the design you are cutting, you measure the 10 and half from the middle part, 10 and quarter, sorry, from the middle part of the fabric where you fold it, or where we call unfold. You measure it from there to the side of the dress, and check the allowance that you will get for the dress in case you are using this size to cut the front part of the body. So as I measured 10 and quarter, the allowance I had is 3 inches, which is okay for me to cut the dress. So we start with the shoulder line. Once again, we measure half of an inch from where the neck is. Then the shoulder is 16. So we divide it by 2 we'll get 8 inches. So we measure from here to the shoulder line. This is the 8 inches. But for us to get the slanted shoulder, I measured half of an inch here. We'll measure 2 inches on the shoulder line so that I'll get my slanted shoulder line. The style is round neck. So you measure 3 inches from the middle part of the fabric to the side of the neck. And then you measure from the upper part, that is under the chin, to the neckline, 4 inches. So it's 3 by 4. And then you rule the line to meet it. As I already told you, that when we measured, we divided the shoulder into 2, we got 8 inches. So this is the 8 inches. Then we measure from the shoulder to the waistline. That is 16 inches. So I rule a line on the 16 inches that I just marked. That gives us the waistline. We'll measure again from the shoulder to the nipple, which will give us, which is 11 inches. Now we'll come to the middle line. That is the center part of the body. On the waistline, I'm coming to rule the dart line. The darts that will give us a shape for the breast. From the unfold to where I'll mark my dart line is 3 inches. And then the dart itself, the interval of the dart is 1.5 inches. In between the nipple is 9 inches. So when I divide it by 2, I'll get 4.5 inches. So I use that to mark the nipple line. And then the bust is 42. Divided by 4 is 10.5. No. Yes, it's 10.5. So you mark your 10.5 on the bust line. This is the bust line. We have the shoulder line, the bust line, and the waist line. So 10.5, and then the waist is 37. Divided by 4 is 9.25. I measured 3 inches first, and then I gave 1.5 interval for the darts. So I'll take the 1.5 out of the 9 inches. And then the 9.25. We'll have 7 3/4. Seven 3/4, 4 3/4. For me to be sure of the measurements, we'll pin the darts line together. And then I measure the 9 1/4 from the unfold line to the side line. 9 1/4. And then I come back to the bust line, the 10.5. On the side line, I'll measure from the bust line going to the armpit, 2 inches. That is going to give us the armhole. And then the upper part of her body, which is across the chest, it was 16 and we got 8. So I measured it on the shoulder, and then I come down a little from the shoulder line to the upper part of the bust, 3 inches. Then I measure 8 again. That is the shoulder line that we measured. So divided by 2 is from here to the shoulder. That is what gave us the 8 inches. But the full shoulder is 16. So now I'm joining this line to the armpit line that I just measured. So it has given us the armhole. The measurement that we just divided has given us the armhole. So I will join the armpit line to the bust line, the 2 inches that we measured. And then I join the bust line to the waistline. So this will give us the accurate measurements of the client or whoever you are sewing for. This will give us the accurate measurements. So this is the side line. This is the middle part of the dress, the armhole, bust line, and the waistline. And then we have the shoulder line and the neckline.